You picture cavemen sitting around fires, grunting and scratching. Hollywood sells you fur-clad brutes hiding from mammoths. But step into Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq, where archaeologists counted 47 separate hearths. Walk through. Kabara Cave in Israel, where they mapped tool workshops, room by room. Check the bone piles at El Sidron in Spain, where they found children's teeth marks on wooden tools. What were Neanderthals actually doing in these caves for 12 hours of darkness every day? The answer sits in the dirt, and it's not what you think. If you value documented prehistoric archaeology like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from archaeological journals and cave excavation reports. Now back to the story. Morning hits differently when sunrise means the difference between warmth and death. At Kabara Cave, 60,000 years ago, you wake up not on the ground, but 3 feet above it on a sleeping platform built from limestone blocks. The Neanderthals who lived here for 8,000 years straight knew that cold air sinks. They measured this. Ground level stays near freezing, while platform height holds at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Enough to keep blood moving. Enough to see another day. Your first job isn't hunting, it's fire maintenance. The hearth in Kabara's main chamber burns in the exact same spot for generations. Same fuel cache, same tool arrangement, same ventilation angle that draws smoke up and out through natural ceiling cracks. You don't build new fires, you feed the one that's been burning since your grandfather's grandfather walked these tunnels. The charcoal layers tell the story. Continuous occupation, continuous flame. But fire dies without fuel, and fuel means work. At Kafse Cave, they found Neanderthal wood-gathering routes mapped in stone, tool caches every 400 meters along collection paths. You don't wander out and hope to find branches. You follow established routes to established groves where your people have been harvesting for centuries. Oak and terebinth mostly, cut with stone hand axes whose edge angles match the wood grain patterns perfectly. 45 degrees for green wood, 60 degrees for seasoned. They knew this. 9 a.m. means tool time, not making them, repairing them. At La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France, archaeologists found workshop areas where Neanderthals spent 3 hours every morning resharpening stone tools. The flake patterns show this happened daily, 32 separate workstations, specific spots for specific jobs. Spear points get touched up near the cave mouth where light hits best. Hide scrapers get worked deeper in where the stone stays damp and naps easier. Cutting tools get attention by the hearth where you can test sharpness on leather scraps from yesterday's work. Tool repair isn't random. It follows patterns so strict they look like assembly lines. At Vindija Cave in Croatia, they map toolmaking, sequences across 4 different work areas. Raw stone comes in from quarries 8 kilometers away, gets rough-shaped in Area 1, fine-shaped in Area 2, edge-worked in Area 3, hafted to wooden handles in Area 4. The stone waste patterns prove this workflow happened the same way for thousands of years. Same steps, same locations, same results. The stone selection alone shows technical knowledge that rivals modern materials science. At Comgrenal in France, they found evidence Neanderthals traveled up to 30 kilometers to collect specific stone types for specific tools, flint for cutting edges, quartzite for heavy-duty chopping, obsidian for precision work. Each stone type matched to tool function based on hardness, fracture patterns, and edge retention properties. They understood geology well enough to predict how different stones would perform under stress. But the biggest daily job isn't tools or fire or even hunting. It's processing yesterday's kill. At El Sidron Cave, they found butchering areas where Neanderthal families spent 4 to 6 hours daily breaking down large game. Mammoth bones show cut marks and precise patterns. Every scrap of meat stripped, every tendon removed, every bit of marrow cracked out with purpose-built bone hammers. Nothing wasted because waste meant death. Meat processing follows recipes passed, down through generations. First, you strip muscle tissue using stone knives with 8-centimeter blades. These knives get resharpened after every major cut. The stone waste proves this. Second, you crack long bones for marrow using stone hammers that weigh exactly 1.3 kilograms. Not lighter, won't crack the bone. Not heavier, wastes energy you can't spare. Third, you scrape hides using specialized tools with 45 degrees. Edge angles that remove tissue without puncturing the hide itself. The hide work matters most. Winter kills you if you don't have proper clothing. And proper clothing means hours of daily hide preparation. At Shanidar Cave, they found scrapers worn down to nubs from constant use. Handle grooves worn smooth by thousands of scraping motions. These tools lived in the same spots for generations. Pass them down. Use them daily. Keep your family alive. Hide processing required chemical knowledge that shows sophisticated understanding of organic chemistry. At several sites, they found evidence Neanderthals used specific plant extracts to tan hides. Oak bark for tannins, willow bark for flexibility, pine resin for waterproofing. Each treatment required precise timing and concentration. Soak too long, the hide weakens. too short. It rots. The chemical residues on processed hides show they got this exactly right. Midday means food prep, and food prep means chemistry. At several Neanderthal sites, they found evidence of systematic food processing that shows these people understood nutrition better than most modern humans. At Kabara, they found grinding stones used to process plant foods into flour. Acorns, pistachios, legumes ground into paste, then mixed with meat fat to create high-calorie survival food. Each mixture tested shows precise ratios, 60% plant matter, 40% fat, exactly what you need to survive Ice Age winters. But they didn't just mix random plant matter. Chemical analysis of grinding stone residues shows they selected specific plants for specific nutrients, pine nuts for fats, acorns for carbohydrates, wild barley for protein. Medicinal plants like chamomile and yarrow mixed in small amounts. They knew what each plant provided and combined them systematically. This isn't instinct. This is knowledge passed down through generations of trial and error. The plant knowledge extends beyond nutrition into medicine. At Shanidar Cave, they found pollen concentrations that show Neanderthals brought specific medicinal plants into living areas: yarrow for pain relief, chamomile for infection, ephedra for respiratory problems. The concentrations are too high and too specific to be accidental. These people practiced herbal medicine with knowledge that matches traditional healing systems used today. Cooking techniques show understanding of food chemistry that goes far beyond roasting meat over flames. At Kopse Cave, they found evidence of boiling using hide-lined pits filled with water and heated with hot stones. The technique requires precise temperature control. Too hot, and the hide burns through. Too cool, and pathogens survive. Bone analysis shows they achieve temperatures around 90 degrees Celsius consistently, perfect for extracting nutrients from bones and cooking tough plant materials into digestible forms. If you value documented prehistoric archaeology like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from archaeological excavation reports and paleoanthropology studies. Now back to the story. Afternoon means maintenance, and maintenance means group work. Cave life only works when everyone has a job and everyone does their job. At La Chapelle-aux-Saints, they found evidence of task specialization that would make a modern factory proud. Some individuals specialized in tool making. Their finger bones show wear patterns from decades of stone knapping. Others specialized in hide processing. Their arm bones show muscle attachments from repetitive scraping motions. Still others specialized in heavy lifting, carrying fuel, hauling kills, moving stones. The most specialized job belonged to fire keepers. At multiple sites, they found individuals whose skeletons show evidence of spending their entire adult lives tending flames. Specific muscle development patterns, specific joint wear, specific bone chemistry from breathing smoke for decades. These weren't just random people assigned to watch the fire. These were specialists whose full-time job was keeping their people alive through controlled combustion. Firekeeping meant more than throwing wood on flames. It meant understanding combustion chemistry well enough to maintain precise temperatures for specific tasks. Cooking fires burned at 200 degrees Celsius. Tool tempering fires reached 400 degrees. Hide smoking fires stayed at exactly 150 degrees for hours at a time. The hearth designs at sites like Kabara show temperature control systems that rival modern ovens. Stone heat, sinks, airflow channels, fuel feeding schedules that maintain target temperatures within 10 degrees for entire days. Temperature control required fuel management systems that show advanced planning abilities. At Vindige Cave, they found evidence of systematic fuel collection and storage that kept fires burning through months of winter storms. Different fuel types stored in separate areas based on burning characteristics, quick lighting kindling near the hearths, long burning hardwood and deeper storage. Specialty fuels like animal fat for high temperature work, stored in waterproof containers made from animal bladders. The fuel storage systems include backup plans for emergency situations. At several sites, they found emergency fuel caches hidden in cave recesses away from main storage areas. These caches contained enough fuel to restart fires if main storage areas flooded or collapsed. The emergency planning shows risk assessment, abilities that consider multiple failure scenarios and prepare accordingly. Evening meant social time, but social time had structure. At El Cedron, they found evidence of communal activities that happened in the same cave areas every night. Storytelling circles near the main hearth, where acoustic properties amplified speech. Game-playing areas where they found carved bone pieces that match patterns across multiple sites. Music-making spaces where they found bone flutes and percussion. Instruments worn smooth from daily use. The social activities weren't random entertainment. They served specific functions that kept groups together through months of cave confinement. Storytelling transmitted survival knowledge from elders to young adults. Games taught problem-solving skills and group cooperation. Music synchronized group activities and reinforced social bonds. Every evening activity had a survival purpose disguised as entertainment. Music-making shows, artistic abilities that challenge everything we thought about Neanderthal intelligence. At Divjabebe in Slovenia, they found a bone flute dated to 60. 1,000 years ago, with precisely drilled holes spaced to create specific musical intervals, the hole spacing matches mathematical ratios found in modern musical instruments. The craftsmanship required dozens of hours of careful work with primitive tools. This was an accident. This was art. But the most important evening activity was planning. At Kofze Cave, they found evidence of systematic planning sessions where groups decided the next day's activities based on weather, food supplies, and tool conditions. Planning areas with stone markers used to track lunar cycles. Resource. Inventory spaces where they counted stored food and materials. Route planning areas where they mapped hunting and gathering expeditions using carved bone markers. The planning systems show mathematical thinking that includes complex calculations. At multiple sites, they found counting systems using carved notches on bone and stone that track days, lunar cycles, and seasonal changes. The notch patterns match astronomical observations with precision that requires systematic recording over months or years. These people understood time measurement well enough to predict seasonal changes and plan activities accordingly. Weather prediction capabilities show understanding of meteorology that helped them survive in environments that killed most other species. Cave paintings at some sites include cloud patterns and wind direction indicators that match local weather systems. The accuracy suggests systematic observation and recording of weather patterns over multiple seasons. This knowledge helped them predict storms, temperature changes, and seasonal transitions that affected hunting and gathering success. Night meant sleeping, but sleeping meant more than closing your eyes. Neanderthal sleeping arrangements show engineering thinking that rivals modern bedroom design. At Shanidar, they built tiered sleeping platforms that used body heat efficiently. Families slept together in calculated arrangements where adults surrounded children to share warmth. Bedding made from layered hides arranged to trap air for insulation. Sleeping positions oriented to catch warm air rising from hearths without exposing sleepers to smoke. The sleeping areas stayed in use for decades with continuous improvements, new stone supports added each year, bedding materials upgraded based on what worked best, drainage systems carved to channel water away from sleeping areas. Now, these weren't temporary camps. These were engineered living spaces, refined across generations of cold weather survival. Sleep scheduling shows understanding of human physiology that maximized rest efficiency during short winter days. Archaeological evidence suggests they used polyphasic sleep patterns similar to those used by Arctic peoples today, multiple short sleep periods throughout each 24-hour cycle instead of single long sleep periods. This pattern maximizes alertness during daylight hours while ensuring adequate rest during long winter nights. But caves offered more than just shelter. They provided temperature control that made survival possible during ice ages when outside temperatures dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius. Inside Kabara Cave, temperatures stayed between 5 and 15 degrees Celsius year-round. The difference between life and death measured in thermal protection provided by limestone walls 40 meters thick. Cave selection wasn't random. Neanderthals chose specific caves based on measurable criteria that show sophisticated understanding of physics and geology. South-facing entrances that captured maximum solar heat, natural chimneys that drew smoke away from living areas, interior chambers positioned to trap warm air and exclude cold drafts, spring access within safe walking distance, stone quality suitable for tool making. Each cave requirement met precise survival specifications. The most advanced cave modifications happened at sites occupied for millennia. At Vindige Cave, they found engineered modifications that improved livability across dozens of generations. Stone walls built to redirect airflow, floor surfaces leveled and paved with fitted stones, drainage channels carved to prevent flooding, storage pits lined with stone slabs to preserve food. These modifications represent thousands of hours of coordinated engineering work. Drainage engineering shows understanding of hydrology that prevented water damage in cave living areas. At multiple sites, they found sophisticated drainage systems that channel water away from sleeping and working areas using carefully carved channels and stone-lined gutters. The drainage systems include overflow channels for heavy rains and snow. Melt. The engineering prevents flooding that would make caves uninhabitable during critical winter months. Ventilation systems show understanding of airflow dynamics that maintained breathable air in confined spaces. At several sites, they found evidence of intentional ventilation modifications that improved air quality without sacrificing heat retention. Stone barriers positioned to direct fresh airflow while blocking cold drafts. Smoke channels carved to remove combustion byproducts without drawing away heated air. The ventilation engineering balances air quality against thermal efficiency with precision that matches modern HVAC design principles. Storage systems show planning abilities that extend far beyond daily survival. At multiple sites, they found Food storage areas designed to preserve meat and plant materials through entire winters. Underground pits lined with stone and sealed with fitted lids. Elevated platforms that kept stored materials away from moisture and rodents. Smoking chambers where they preserved meat using controlled combustion techniques. The storage systems worked. Chemical analysis of preserved organic materials shows food stored using Neanderthal techniques stayed edible for months, meat preserved through smoking and salting. Plant materials dried and stored in sealed containers, fat rendered and stored in waterproof bladders made from animal organs. Each preservation technique shows understanding of chemistry principles that prevented spoilage and maintained nutrition. Food preservation techniques include fermentation processes that increased nutritional value and extended storage life. At several sites, they found evidence of controlled fermentation using buried pits filled with plant materials and sealed with clay. The fermentation process increases vitamin content and creates alcohol that acts as a natural preservative. The technique requires precise timing and temperature control that shows sophisticated understanding of biochemistry. Winter survival depended on stored resources calculated to last specific periods. At Shanidar, they found storage areas containing enough preserved food to feed a family group of 12 people for 4 months. The calculations work out precisely. Caloric requirements match to stored food quantities. Preservation techniques match to expected storage duration. Consumption schedules planned to make resources last until spring hunting became viable again. Resource management includes rationing systems that distributed stored food based on individual needs and group priorities. Skeletal analysis shows Neanderthal groups maintained relatively equal nutrition levels even during food shortages. This suggests systematic food distribution that prioritized group survival over individual advantage. The rationing systems required social cooperation and mathematical thinking that calculated daily caloric needs across multiple months. But the most sophisticated cave activities involved childcare and education systems that ensured survival knowledge passed to the next generation. At El Cedron, they found evidence of systematic education where children learned essential skills through structured training programs, tool-making workshops designed for small hands, practice areas where children learned fire management with miniature hearths, training grounds where young hunters practiced with scaled-down weapons. Child education wasn't casual. It followed curricula that taught specific skills at specific ages. Archaeological evidence shows children started learning tool repair at age 5, advanced tool making at age 8, fire management at age 10, hunting techniques at age 12, food processing at age 14. Each skill level marked by increasingly sophisticated tool finds, sized for growing hands. The education systems produced specialists ready to survive independently by age 16. Skeletal remains show muscle development patterns that match specific skill sets acquired through systematic training. Young adults with tool-making specializations, others with fire-keeping specializations, still others with hunting or hide processing specializations. Each individual trained for specific roles that kept their groups alive. Educational tools include teaching aids that help children learn complex skills through hands-on practice. At multiple sites, they found miniature tool sets designed for child-sized hands but functional enough to perform real work. Practice spear points that could actually hunt small game. Working fire-starting kits scaled for young fingers. Functional hide scrapers that taught proper technique while accomplishing useful work. Recent excavations at Bruniquel Cave in France revealed the most sophisticated Neanderthal cave activity yet discovered. Deep inside the cave, 400 meters from the entrance, they found circular stone structures built from stalagmites broken and arranged in precise geometric patterns. Carbon dating shows construction happened 175,000 years ago. No other explanation fits except intentional construction by Neanderthals, who ventured deep underground carrying fire and building something that required coordinated group effort. The Bruniquel structures change everything we thought we knew about Neanderthal capabilities. Building them required artificial lighting for hours underground, coordinated group planning, geometric knowledge, symbolic thinking. These weren't cave dwellers hiding from the world. These were engineers and architects working 4 football fields underground in complete darkness, except for flames they carried. The structures serve no obvious survival purpose. They're too deep for habitation, too elaborate for tool storage, too precisely geometric for random activity. Whatever drove Neanderthals to spend dozens of hours building circular stone arrangements deep underground, it shows thinking capabilities that match modern humans in every measurable way. Construction analysis shows the Bruniquel structures required mathematical planning that calculated weight distribution, structural stability, and geometric precision. The builders had to understand load-bearing principles to prevent collapse. They needed measuring systems to maintain circular geometry across multiple construction sessions. They required planning abilities to coordinate group effort and complete darkness, using only firelight for illumination. That's what Neanderthals actually did all day in their caves. They engineered survival systems that kept families alive through ice ages that killed almost everything else. They built the foundation of human civilization 40,000 years before we thought civilization began, and they did it all in caves. We're still excavating today, finding evidence that rewrites human history, one precisely carved stone circle at a time.